Hello friends, welcome to this August edition of an update on asset allocation and fund of funds. So if we look at the Indian household asset ownership, the total household assets at the end of December were about $9 trillion US. However, almost 80% of these assets are still in real estate, gold and bank deposits. And equities only account for around 4.3% of the total assets, indicating the skew in Indian asset ownership. Now, if we come to a view on these various asset classes, on equities, in the short term, we have a cautious view considering the rally in the markets and the elevated headline valuations. However, in the medium to long term, valuations seem reasonable considering normalized earnings, and equities still seem to be the favored asset class on a risk-reward basis. Flexi-cap and multi-cap funds are ideally suited for the current environment, considering the flexibility they have in allocation across large, mid, and small-cap stocks. On the fixed income side, the current huge liquidity surplus is likely to continue for the next 12 months, and RBI is expected to remain accommodative for a longer period than what is being currently priced in the markets. Floater and short-term funds continue to be the best risk-adjusted basis for fixed income investors to have accrual returns over other fixed income assets. On gold, we have seen that gold prices have corrected in the past few days after the strong US jobs report, which led to rising yields and a stronger dollar. However, inflation is expected to remain high for some time in the US. The dollar is also expected to weaken going forward, which should benefit gold prices. Lastly, on real estate, returns have been depressed for the past few years as prices have been flat. We expect a gradual recovery in prices over the next few years due to the high inventory levels. The Aditya Birla Sun Life Asset Allocator Fund of Fund crystallizes our fund house outlook and strategy. Portfolios aligned to our outlook, and investors can invest in just this one fund and get exposure to all the underlying Aditya Birla Sun Life funds. Hence, investors need not time markets and can just remain invested for the long term without having to worry about changing market dynamics. The Aditya Birla Sun Life Asset Allocator Fund of Fund provides diversification across 4 asset classes, namely domestic equity, international equity, fixed income, and gold. Considering the rally in the markets, we have reduced our total equity allocation to about 55%, out of which around 50% is to domestic equities and 5% is to international equities. Within the equity segment, the core is the large cap and diversified, which account for almost 60% of the equity allocation, and the remaining is to small caps and to thematic funds like banking, digital, and infrastructure, which account for the remaining 40%. We also have exposure to the international equity in the form of S&P 500 ETF. We have allocated about 14% to gold ETFs and the remaining about 30% fixed income, which is largely in the low duration fund and the corporate bond fund. Hence, the Aditya Birla Sun Life Asset Allocator FoF provides a one-stop shop for investors covering asset allocation, fund selection, and periodic rebalancing. The performance of the fund has also been very impressive. For the past 1 year, the fund of fund has given a return of about 35% compared to the benchmark return of about 25%. If we compare the performance of the fund of fund to the other asset allocation fund of funds and dynamic allocation funds in the industry, the fund has consistently ranked in the first or second quartile for the past 1, 3, and 5 years. Hence, we can say that the Aditya Birla Sun Life Fund of Fund continues to be in the top quartile in short, medium, and long time frames. Hope this gave you a good overview of the Aditya Birla Sun Life Fund of Fund. Thank you and happy investing.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.